It has long been established that emulation was used to produce the 3 disputed DK scores which have been attributed to Billy Mitchell. The fact an early version of MAME was used, coupled with the fact that each of those games involved point-perfect target scores, indicates that they were not simply single playthrough games. If BM was actually capable of achieving these feats on arcade, there would be absolutely no reason to submit scores using MAME, unless it was for the purpose of guaranteeing a world record and a specific end score, as was the case for each of the disputed games. Some have spoken of how the gameplay on these recordings can be replicated and therefore must be proof that BM actually played them outright. This is not very convincing, as it, 1, does not logically follow, and 2, it is most certainly anachronistic. Hell, today even I can replicate the hazardous and careless gameplay exhibited on the disputed tapes. I have recorded 3 IMPs hitting each of those target scores. Whenever a careless attempt backfired, or things didn't pan out the way I wanted them to, I simply replayed that portion of the game until things did work out for me. The fact someone can replicate chance-filled gameplay from more than a decade after the fact doesn't mean such would have been the top player's choice during arcade world record attempts of that time. This goes especially for BM, as there was little to no public footage available of him playing on arcade during that time frame, and certainly not enough to show that his playing style reflects what we see on the disputed recordings. The simple truth is that the 3 disputed games ascribed to Billy Mitchell were recorded using MAME instead of an original DK board set. The fact BM continues to lie about this says more about his personality and character than it does anything else. Even Robbie Lakeman admits that BM's games were the product of MAME. My understanding is that Lakeman may not believe BM cheated, but that's because he feels the disputed games were single playthroughs using MAME. However, as I have already pointed out, there is absolutely no reason for BM to have played on MAME, if he actually could have hit all those scores on arcade. The very fact BM knowingly submitted recordings produced using MAME, as if they were from arcade, is strike 1 on the side of cheating. The fact he had to use MAME in order to top his competition's legitimate arcade scores, instead of submitting arcade scores of his own, is a double strike in the cheating column. The third strike is the use of MAME for precise outcomes, where BM has proven himself inept when making attempts on actual arcade. Circumstantial evidence supports the conclusion that the 2010 game either had already been recorded or was in its final stages prior to when it was supposedly played. This can be gleaned from what Rob Childs told Josh Harmon of Electronic Gaming Monthly back in 2019. In the week leading up to BM's stunt at Boomers, Childs texted a friend that Billy was to take back the DK and DK Jr. records on Saturday, July 31st. Interestingly, Chris Ira, in a TG forum post, claimed that BM achieved those records on Friday, July 30th. I know of no legitimate DK or DK Jr. player who would have confidently expressed such a sentiment. Even when it comes to Pac-Man, I would never speak in such terms. During the Perfect Pac for Life fundraiser in 2016, I publicized that I was attempting my 7th perfect Pac-Man. Claiming to know when a person will take back the record on a game like Donkey Kong is very questionable and definitely suspicious, and doubly so when the claim is extended to 2 major arcade titles on the same day. It would be like BM communicating to Rob Childs that he would be playing a perfect Pac-Man on the game's 40th anniversary at Glitch Bar in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Because of BM's Galloping Ghost fiasco, where it took him 10 days of attempts in November of 2020 to get a perfect game on the 20th reunion machine, people overlook what happened just a few months earlier. BM set out to get a perfect score on an original Pac-Man at Glitch Bar on May 22nd, 2020, Pac-Man's 40th anniversary. That, of course, didn't happen. BM streamed on Twitch over the course of 17 days when he finally achieved a perfect score on June 7th, 2020. Given the history of how BM has performed in public, beginning with the first Fun Spot tournament, where he was bested by Rick Fothergill in both Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, and his poor showings at various events throughout the years, not to mention the multiple days of attempts to achieve perfect scores on Pac-Man, and more recently, how he brazenly lied to convention attendees about achieving a perfect game in their presence. One should consider the claim of knowing when he would achieve back-to-back records on Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. as further evidence of using emulation to fraudulently produce such scores. Thank you.